Welcome to the Behind Closed Doors channel. Wishing you a peaceful day. Today, I'd like to share the following story with you. I hope you enjoy listening to my story. Now, please.
The wheelchair arrived on a Tuesday morning, which Jing always thought was the cruelest possible day for a life to unravel. Not a Monday, when the world is braced for catastrophe. Not a Friday, when you might at least have the weekend to grieve. A Tuesday, grey, unremarkable, smelling faintly of rain that hadn't quite decided to fall. She was standing at the kitchen counter, pouring her second cup of coffee, when she heard the sound. The soft creak of wheels on concrete, a muffled thud, and then silence. The kind of silence that has weight to it, the kind that presses against the back of your neck and makes you put down your coffee mug very, very carefully. She looked out the window. There, at the end of her front path, sitting in a wheelchair, wrapped in a thick quilted blanket, despite the mild October air, was her mother-in-law, Mrs. Chen. Beside her, two large suitcases, expensive ones, the kind with spinner wheels and telescoping handles. Jing recognized them. She'd helped pack them 3 months ago, the day the old woman moved in with her younger son after pocketing 8 million yuan in demolition compensation money and handing it over to him in a single act of breathtaking favoritism. There was no younger son in sight. Jing set her coffee cup down on the counter. She pressed her palms flat against the cool granite. She breathed in through her nose, out through her mouth, the way her therapist had once suggested for moments of acute stress. Then she walked to the front door, opened it, and stood on the threshold, looking at Mrs. Chen. Mrs. Chen looked back at her. The old woman had suffered a stroke 6 weeks ago. The left side of her body was partially paralyzed. She could speak. She'd always been able to speak, Jing thought wryly. She'd never had trouble with that. But her movements were slow, labored, dependent. The woman who once marched through family gatherings like a general surveying conquered territory now sat bundled in a wool blanket in the thin morning light, her jaw set in an expression that Jing recognized as Mrs. Chen's closest approximation of vulnerability, which still somehow managed to look like mild contempt. "Well," said Mrs. Chen, "are you going to stand there all morning, or are you going to push me inside?" And right there, right at that moment, with the cool air on her face and her coffee going cold on the counter, Jing almost laughed. Not a cruel laugh, not even a bitter one, just the particular laugh that escapes you when the universe confirms with precise and almost elegant timing everything you ever suspected about a person. She didn't push the wheelchair. She didn't step back from the door. She tilted her head slightly, the way she'd learned to do when she needed to think before she spoke, and she said, "Where's Xiao Jun?" Mrs. Chen's expression shifted, just a fraction, a tightening around the eyes, a slight compression of the lips. It was the expression of someone calculating.
He had things to do.
What things? Silence. Jing nodded slowly. "Let me call him." "There's no need to call Mum." Jing's voice was quiet, but it had a quality in it that made the old woman stop mid-sentence. It was not a sharp voice. It was something rarer and more alarming. It was a voice that had made up its mind. "This is a conversation that involves him, so I'm going to call him." She pulled her phone from her pocket. The call lasted 4 minutes, Jing counted. In those 4 minutes, she learned several things. She learned that Xiao Jun, her brother-in-law, 29 years old, currently living in a brand new 3-bedroom apartment purchased with a significant portion of the 8 million yuan his mother had gifted him 3 months prior, had discussed the situation with his wife, Fang. She learned that they had concluded that Jing's house was more suitable. She learned that more suitable was code for larger, quieter, occupied by a woman who had spent the last decade demonstrating an apparently infinite capacity for unpaid domestic labor. She also learned that Xiao Jun's wife, Fang, had health issues that made caregiving difficult. "What health issues?" Jing asked. The line went quiet for a moment. She's not strong. And I am? Brother Cheng makes good money and you guys have space and Jing kept her voice very, very even. Your mother is currently sitting in a wheelchair outside my front door because you drove her here and left. I need you to tell me, is that what you're saying? You're saying she lives here now? Another pause, longer this time. Sister-in-law, she's your mother, Jing said. Come get her. I can't. Why? She won't. She said she can't. You took 8 million yuan. The line went completely silent. You took 8 million yuan again, Jing said, her voice still that same quiet, resolved tone. 3 months ago, your mother gave it to you, all of it, and now she is in a wheelchair outside my house with 2 suitcases. I am asking you to come and get her. Sister-in-law, those are 2 different things, are they? The money was a gift. This is family responsibility. It's different. Jing looked at Mrs. Chen, who was watching her with sharp, calculating eyes from the wheelchair. Okay, Jing said. I'm going to call Chiang. Don't go anywhere. She hung up. Her husband, Chen Chiang, had been at his office on the 31st floor of a glass building in the financial district when his phone rang. He was a project manager at a construction consultancy, the kind of steady, unflashy career that had always been exactly what it appeared to be. He made good money, he worked hard, he came home most nights by 7. He was, by almost any measure, a good husband and a decent person, burdened primarily by 2 things: a mother who had spent 40 years conditioning him to feel guilty for having needs of his own, and a fundamental difficulty with confrontation that he'd been slowly, painfully learning to overcome in the past few years.
When Jing told him what had happened, there was a long pause. "I'm coming home," he said. "Take your time," she said. "She's not going anywhere." He arrived 23 minutes later, still in his work jacket, having clearly jogged from the parking garage. He came around the corner and stopped when he saw his mother in the wheelchair at the end of the path, and Jing standing in the doorway, arms folded, watching. "Mum," he said, and went to her immediately, crouching down beside the wheelchair. "What are you doing out here in the cold?" "Your wife won't let me in," Mrs. Chen said. Chiang looked up at Jing. "I'm waiting for him to come home and decide. This is a family decision. It's cold, Jing. She's been in worse." Jing kept her voice level. "Chiang, before she comes in, I need to say something, out here where she can hear me." Something in his face shifted. He knew that tone. He'd been learning its meaning for a decade, and he'd gotten better at reading it in the past 3 months, since the day the 8 million yuan had been transferred to his brother's account without a single yuan going to them. He stood up. He looked at his mother, and then at his wife, and then he did something that, to his credit, he'd been practicing. He stayed where he was and waited. "This is the question," Jing said. "Your mother gave 8 million yuan to your brother, not to us, to him. He used it to buy a house, a car, and apparently cover his wife's inexplicable health issues. And now he's dropped her on our doorstep because his wife can't manage.
Mrs. Chen's face went stiff. "I'm his mother. You're his mother and you're Xiaojun's mother. The situations are different. How?" The old woman opened her mouth, closed it, the quilted blanket rustled. "You have better conditions. Better conditions don't mean unlimited obligation." Jiang put his hand on the wheelchair handle, not pushing it yet, just resting there, as though he hadn't quite decided. Then he looked at his mother with an expression Jing had never quite seen on his face before. Not anger, not guilt, something quieter and sadder and more final. "Mum," he said, "we'll go inside, but we need to have a real conversation." He looked at Jing. She stepped back from the door. There is a notebook in this story. It's important to know about the notebook early, because the notebook is, in a sense, the real main character. Jing had started keeping it 7 years ago, a plain dark blue A5 notebook she'd bought at a pharmacy, not because she had any particular plan for it, but because she'd needed somewhere to put what she was feeling, and she'd always been better with writing than with speaking when the feelings were large and tangled. The first entries were emotional, frustration, hurt, a sense of invisible effort that left no trace. But over time, the notebook changed. Jing was, by profession, a project coordinator, a woman who tracked budgets, timelines, and deliverables with precise, habitual care. Somewhere around the 3rd year of her marriage, she began to apply those same professional instincts to her domestic life.
The notebook became a ledger. Date, amount, description, running total. September 14, bought Mum's blood pressure medication, pharmacy on Henghua Road, 340 yuan. October 3rd, plumber called to fix kitchen drain at Mum's house, agreed to split with Xiaojun, his half never paid, 600 yuan, net hour cost 600 yuan. November 28th, Mum's birthday, red envelope, 2,000 yuan, cake from Hollyland, 280 yuan, new wool cardigan from Uniqlo, her request, 399 yuan, total 2,679 yuan. December, weekend grocery trips to Mum's house, 4 visits, approximately 180 yuan per visit, total 720 yuan. It was not a ledger kept for revenge. That is important to understand. Jing was not, at her core, a vengeful person. She was a thorough one. She kept the notebook because she had a vague, unarticulated conviction that someday the accumulated weight of invisible labor would need to be made visible, not to punish anyone, but simply because things that are never acknowledged have a way of curdling, slowly, into resentment that eats you from the inside. She kept the notebook because she refused to be eaten. 3 years before the wheelchair arrived at the front door, Mrs. Chen had been hospitalized for a cerebral hemorrhage, a milder version of the stroke that would eventually leave her paralyzed. She spent 11 weeks in the ward. Chang, whose workload during that period included a major project deadline, was rarely available. Jing took a leave of absence from work. She does not like to dramatize this. It was a decision she made, and she made it clearly. Mrs. Chen needed someone. Xiaojun and his wife Fang came to visit 6 times in 11 weeks, each visit lasting between 20 and 40 minutes, bracketed by elaborate excuses about work and childcare and the difficulty of parking near the hospital. Jing was there every day. She learned to change a catheter bag. She learned which of the ward nurses was the one you needed to befriend if you wanted the good bed positioning. She learned that the thing that made her sleep best in the afternoon was having the blinds at exactly 45 degrees. She also lost, during those 11 weeks, 3 months' worth of performance bonuses, 2 weeks of banked annual leave that she'd been saving for a trip with her son, and approximately 40,000 yuan in combined wages and unreimbursed medical expenses. The notebook records all of this. Xiao Jun's contribution to his mother's hospitalization, 6 brief visits, total financial contribution, 0. When Mrs. Chen was discharged, she told the assembled relatives at a celebration dinner that Jing had cooked that her eldest daughter-in-law was so filial. And then she added, with the particular careless cruelty of someone who genuinely doesn't realize what they're saying, Jiang's family has money. For them, this kind of thing is what they should do. What they should do. Jing was standing 4 feet away when she said it. She smiled. She collected the empty plates. When they got home that night, she sat at the kitchen table and opened the notebook and wrote the words down verbatim, with the date and the names of the witnesses who'd heard it. She did not know yet what she would do with the notebook. She just knew she needed it.
Part 2. The Recording. The morning after the wheelchair arrived, Jing received a phone call she hadn't expected. It was Fang, Xiao Jun's wife. Fang was a difficult person to read. She was 27, compact, with the sharp, assessing eyes of someone who'd grown up poor and was perpetually recalculating her position. She and Jing had never been close. Their relationship was conducted in the careful, mutually suspicious register of 2 women who've been implicitly asked to compete for the same limited resource of family goodwill. But Fang was also, Jing had always suspected, smarter than she let on. Sister-in-law, Fang said, and her voice had something strange in it, not her usual brittle brightness, but something more careful, hesitant almost. What is it? I have something I want you to hear. What kind of something? A recording. Jing went very still. A recording of what? Of Mother and Xiao Jun. There was a silence between them, the particular silence of 2 people simultaneously recalibrating. About me? Jing said. Yes. How did you get it? I was in the bedroom, they were in the living room. Honestly, I wasn't trying to record it. My phone was on and I heard what they were saying and I knew I needed to keep it. Why are you giving it to me? Another pause. When Fang spoke again, something in her voice had shifted. Stripped of its usual social veneer, it sounded younger and genuinely tired. Because I spent 1 month doing exactly what you've been doing for 10 years, and I want you to know I understand now. I understand what you were dealing with, and I want... She stopped. I want her to go somewhere where she's being paid to do it, and I think she won't go unless someone makes her. Jing closed her eyes for a moment. Send it to me. She listened to it that evening, sitting in her car in the parking garage at work, earbuds in, the engine off. The recording was 42 seconds long. It was grainy, obviously captured on a phone left open on a coffee table, but the voices were clear enough. Mrs. Chen's voice, low and certain. Don't worry about it. I have ways to make her agree. Xiao Jun, what kind of ways? Your brother is soft. He's been soft since he was a child. I just have to cry a little, tell him his old mother is helpless, lying in bed with no one to care for her. Can he resist that? And if that doesn't work, I'll make a scene outside their house, let the whole neighborhood see. She won't dare turn me away. She cares too much about what people think. Xiao Jun's voice dropped. That seems a bit much. A bit much. She's my daughter-in-law. Taking care of me is what she should do. Besides, a short dismissive sound, not quite a laugh. She's not even that busy. It's not like she has a real career. What does she make? A few thousand a month? She should be grateful to have something useful to do. Brother Chang said she got a promotion. Did she? Well, a few thousand more. It doesn't matter. Taking care of me is still the right thing for her to do. Some things don't change just because you make a little more money. And Xiao Jun, remember, you just need to send 2,000 a month. 2,000. That's it. I'm not asking for much. $2,000 for everything, her food, her medication. They can afford it, that's the point. They can afford it, and I can't ask your family to do the same. You're already dealing with so much. I'm just trying to be fair. Okay, Mom. Good boy. The recording ended. Jing sat in the car for a long time. Outside, the parking garage hummed with the distant sound of traffic. A car pulled in 2 spaces down, and a woman got out, talking on her phone, laughing at something, her heels clicking on the concrete. Jing stared at the steering wheel. She had genuinely thought, that Mrs. Chen simply hadn't considered how things looked from her perspective, that it was thoughtlessness, or the particular blindness that comes from centering your own preferences and calling it motherhood. She had not thought it was strategic. She had not thought it was planned. She's not even that busy. It's not like she has a real career. 12,000 yuan a month, 8 years at the same company, a team of 6 that she managed, performance reviews that had, without exception, rated her as exceptional. She should be grateful to have something useful to do. Jing looked at her own hands on the steering wheel. She thought about the notebook, about the 230,000 yuan, about 11 weeks changing a catheter bag in a hospital ward, while Zhao Zhen came 6 times for 20 minutes each. She thought about the word fair. Then she took out her phone and texted Feng, "Are there other recordings?" 3 dots appeared, then, "Yes, send them all." She told Cheng that night. She played him the recording in the kitchen, the same way she'd listened to it, sitting at the table, earbuds handed across, watching his face. She had learned to read her husband's face over 10 years in the way you learn to read weather, not by understanding the meteorology, but by watching the specific way the clouds moved. She knew her confusion face, slightly furrowed, head tilted left. She knew her guilt face, eyes down, jaw tight. She knew her love face and her tired face, and then this is too complicated face. She had not seen until that moment her shame face. It was different from guilt. Guilt looked inward, shame looked outward and down at the same time. The expression of a person confronting what they look like from the outside and not liking it. He took the earbuds out. For a long moment, he said nothing. "She knew my name," he finally said. His voice was strange, lower than usual, hollowed out. She said, "Your brother is soft. I just have to cry." "Yes." "She planned this." "Yes." He put the earbuds on the table. He looked at them for a while, as though they were an object he didn't recognize. She said, "You don't have a real career." "Yes." "You make 12,000 yuan a month." "Yes." "I told her that. I told her at New Year, right in front of her." "I know." So she knew, and she said it anyway. Jing waited. Chang rubbed his face. Then he looked up at her. "Jing, I owe you an apology." "For what specifically?" "For all of it. For not standing up sooner. For making you spend 10 years in a situation where she was treating you as a built-in housekeeper." "Yes." The word came out with an effort. "That." "The apology is nice, but what I actually need is an action. Tell me what you want." "A family meeting. Your mother, your brother, his wife, us, in the hospital room where everyone is on record, and I need you to be on my side." He looked at her. "I mean that, not on both sides, not trying to keep the peace, on my side." Chung reached across the table and took her hand. "I'm on your side." She looked at him for a long moment, measuring. "Okay, then let's do this." Part 3. The Reckoning. The family meeting was arranged for Thursday afternoon. Jing spent the 2 days beforehand in preparation. She took her notebook, all 7 years of it, 283 handwritten pages, and transferred the data to a spreadsheet. She organized it by category: medical expenses, home maintenance, gifts and holiday money, food and groceries, time value of lost wages. She formatted it clearly in a table with dates and amounts and running totals. She printed it on plain white paper, 12 pages, in a font large enough to be read easily across a hospital room. She also organized Fang's recordings, there were 4 of them in total, chronologically with brief transcription notes saved on her phone and backed up to the cloud. She did not do any of this with satisfaction. She wanted to be clear about that. There is a particular genre of story, in films, in novels, where a wronged woman assembles her evidence and makes her case and feels triumphant while doing it. Jing did not feel triumphant. She felt tired, and also, underneath the tiredness, something harder to name, something like the particular sorrow of being proven right about things you wished you'd been wrong about. She had hoped for a long time that Mrs. Chen's behavior was thoughtlessness. Thoughtlessness was forgivable. Thoughtlessness could change. The recordings told her it wasn't thoughtlessness, it was a system. It was a system that had been running, with her as the engine, for 10 years. She printed the last page of the spreadsheet and placed all 12 pages in a plain manila folder. She was not going there to destroy anyone. She was going there to make the invisible visible. To say, here is what was taken from me, in numbers, on paper, in front of witnesses. Not because she expected to be repaid, not because she thought it would change Mrs. Chen, who was 73 years old and paralyzed and, Jing suspected, fundamentally incapable of revision, but because she had kept the notebook for 7 years and she was not going to put it away quietly, as though it had never existed. When they arrived at the hospital room, Mrs. Chen was sitting up in bed, her eyes sharper than they'd looked in weeks. She'd been told there would be a family meeting, a carefully neutral phrase, and she'd prepared for it in the way she always prepared for conflict, by expanding the audience. Uncle Wei was there. He was 76, a retired school teacher, the eldest sibling in the Chen family, with the bearing of someone who had spent decades being the person others deferred to. He had a round, honest face and the habit of drumming his fingers on his knee when he was thinking. He was the kind of person whose opinion actually mattered at these gatherings, not because he was loud, but because he was fair. Auntie Li was also there, Mrs. Chen's sister, small and watchful, with the particularly alert eyes of someone who enjoyed being at the center of family drama. She had brought a thermos of tea and was already drinking it. Xiaojun and Fang stood in the corner, Xiaojun's shoulders slightly hunched, Fang with her face arranged in an expression of careful neutrality.
Chang stood beside Jing. Jing said pleasantly, looking around the room. Mrs. Chen's expression shifted slightly. She'd been expecting Jing to look intimidated by the audience. She had miscalculated. "We're all family," Mrs. Chen said. "There's no harm in having family present for family matters." "Agreed," Jing said. She sat down in the chair nearest the bed, put her manila folder on her knee, and folded her hands over it. "Let's begin." What happened in that hospital room over the next hour and 20 minutes is difficult to render as a simple narrative because it happened in layers, like geological strata, each one revealing something buried beneath the last. The first layer was the money. Uncle Wei, who had arrived with only a partial understanding of the situation, learned for the first time in that room that Mrs. Chen had transferred the full 8 million yuan to Xiao Jun's account, not split, not divided, but entirely, unilaterally given. "All of it," he said, "not a single yuan to Chang's family?" Mrs. Chen began her defense. Chang earned well, they didn't need it. Xiao Jun had more financial pressure. "How much does Xiao Jun earn?" Jing asked. It's relevant. You used his income as your justification. How much does he earn?" "About 5,000 or 6,000 a month." "And how much did he earn before you gave him 8 million yuan?" Silence. "The same amount," Jing said. "The 8 million yuan didn't change his asset position. It changed his asset position. He now owns a 3-bedroom apartment and a car worth 300,000 yuan and has approximately 5 million yuan in savings. And you're asking us to provide her care." Uncle Wei turned to look at Xiao Jun. There was something in his expression that went beyond surprise. It was the look of a man recalculating something he thought he understood. "Is this true?" he said. "She gave you all of it?" Xiao Jun's shoulders went up. He nodded slightly. "And you let her?" Uncle Wei said. It wasn't a question. The second layer was the ledger. Jing opened the manila folder and passed the 12 pages to Uncle Wei. She gave him a moment to read the first page before she began to speak. "This is a record of the money Chiang and I have spent on Shimon's mother's care and household support over the last 10 years. Every entry is dated, every amount is documented. I can provide receipts for the larger items." The room was very quiet as Uncle Wei read. 230,000 yuan, Jing said when he'd gotten to the last page. "Over 10 years. That does not include the value of my time. It does not include the 3 months I took leave from work to care for her during her hospitalization 3 years ago, during which I lost approximately 50,000 yuan in wages and bonuses." 50,000? Auntie Lee started. "I've calculated it at market rates. If you hired a private nurse at market rate for 3 months of 24-hour care, the cost would be approximately 90,000 yuan. I did it for free. I'm not asking for that money back. I'm simply asking that we acknowledge it exists." She looked at Mrs. Chen. "Xiao Jun's total financial contribution to your care over the same 10 years, she said, was approximately 5,000 yuan, which I have recorded as well."
Xiao Jun flinched. Fang looked steadily at the floor. "That's," Mrs. Chen began. "He was busy," Jing said pleasantly. "I know, you've told me. He was always busy. He could only visit 6 times in 11 weeks. He was too pressed to send a red envelope on your birthday more than twice in 10 years. He had a lot of pressure." She paused. "And now he has 8 million yuan and a parking space for his new car." Uncle Wei put down the papers. "Sister-in-law," he said, addressing Mrs. Chen with the family term of address, "you need to explain this to me." And then the third layer, the recordings. Xiao Jun didn't play all 4. She played the 42-second one. She played it without preamble, without setup, without emotion. She simply held out her phone, pressed play, and let the room hear Mrs. Chen's own voice filling the small space. "Your brother is soft. He's been soft since he was a child. I just have to cry a little. She should be grateful to have something useful to do. Taking care of me is still the right thing for her to do. Some things don't change just because you make a little more money." The recording ended. The silence that followed was different from the silences before it. It had a different quality. The silence of a room full of people who have just heard something they cannot unhear and are deciding how to arrange their faces around it. Mrs. Chen's face had gone the color of old wax. "That's," she started. "Your voice," Jing said. "Yes." "Fang," Mrs. Chen turned sharply, turning to her younger daughter-in-law. "You recorded me." "I was in the bedroom," Fang said quietly. "You were in the living room. I wasn't recording on purpose. Yes, I kept it." "How dare you?" "Mum," Jiang's voice was quiet and completely steady. "The recording isn't the point. What you said is the point." Mrs. Chen turned to look at her eldest son. Jing watched her do it. She watched the old woman's face perform several small, rapid calculations, the faint assumption that Jiang would fold as he always had, that the specific mixture of maternal authority and frailty that had worked on him for 40 years would work again now. She saw the moment Mrs. Chen decided to deploy it. "Chiang," Mrs. Chen said, and her voice went soft, almost tremulous. "You're my son. Can you really sit there and let her talk to me like this?" The room waited. Jiang looked at his mother. He held her gaze for a long moment, long enough that I could almost see him reviewing 40 years of conditioning, one layer at a time, and deciding one by one to put them down. "Mum," Jiang said, "you called my wife a built-in housekeeper."
The soft voice vanished. Mrs. Chen's jaw tightened. "I didn't say it like that's what you meant. Everyone in this room just heard it." He glanced at Uncle Wei, who gave a slow, solemn nod. He glanced at Auntie Li, who was looking at her thermos with the focused attention of someone trying to avoid incriminating themselves. Jing has spent 10 years caring for this family. She kept records because no one else was doing it, and because she knew that if she didn't, it would be as if none of it had happened. 230,000 yuan, plus 50,000 in lost wages. And at the end of it, you told your son that she should be grateful to have something useful to do. He let that sit in the room. "That's who my wife is to you, a useful tool, and you want her to keep being that. Chiang, no." He put his hand on Jing's shoulder, a small gesture but deliberate. "We're done discussing whether Jing is going to care for you. She isn't. That conversation is over." He looked at Xiao Jun. "Xiao Jun, you took the money. The money was meant to ensure Mom's care in her old age. That's what it was for. You have it, so you provide the care. That's the arrangement." Xiao Jun's face had gone through several colors during the meeting and had now settled on a grayish pink. He looked at Fang, who looked at the floor. "We can figure out the details," Chung said. "Nursing home, home care, divided schedule. I'll support whatever you work out within reason, but the primary responsibility is yours." He looked at his mother. "Mom, I love you. I'll come visit, but I'm not going to make my wife into your servant. I should have said that years ago. I'm sorry it took me this long." Mrs. Chen stared at her eldest son. For the first time in Jing's memory, she looked completely at a loss. Uncle Wei cleared his throat. "Jiao," he said, addressing Mrs. Chen, "what Chang's family is saying is correct. You made your choice about the money. Now you live with the consequences of that choice. That's fair." Auntie Li looked up from her thermos. She said nothing, but she looked at Jing with an expression that, if it had been put into words, might have said, "Well done." Jing stood up.
She picked up her manila folder. She looked at Mrs. Chen one final time, the old woman in the hospital bed, the wool blanket pulled up, the eyes still calculating even now, still searching for an angle, a lever, a way out. "Mom," Jing said, and her voice was, for the first time in the meeting, genuinely soft. Not tactical softness, actual softness. Mrs. Chen looked at her. "I don't hate you," Jing said. "I want to be very clear about that. I'm not doing this out of hatred. I'm doing it because I spent 10 years learning to disappear inside your house, and I'm not willing to do it anymore." She paused. "I hope you get good care. I hope Xiaojun figures out how to be a son. I genuinely hope that." She turned to go. "Tiaojing," Mrs. Chen said, using her Chinese name, and something in her voice broke slightly, the calculation momentarily failing, something older and more naked underneath. Jing paused. She didn't turn around. "What do you want from me?" Mrs. Chen said. "Do you want me to apologize?" "No," Jing said. "I want you to be honest, with yourself if not with me, about what happened here. That's all. You don't owe me an apology. You owe yourself an honest accounting." She walked out.
Part 4. What happened after? The weeks that followed were, in their own way, more revealing than the meeting itself. Xiaojun and Fang took Mrs. Chen home. They did not do this without protest. Fang's protests were paradoxically more pragmatic than emotional. She went through 2 days of sending increasingly desperate texts to Jing, all of which Jing answered with the same 4 words: "That's not my problem." Xiaojun tried a different approach. He called Chang. "Bro," he said, "come on, we have to figure something out." "We have figured something out," Chang said. "You're taking care of Mum. Jing and I will come visit when we can. That's the arrangement. But Fang, I understand Fang has health issues." "She does. She really—" "Then hire someone to help. You have 5 million yuan left." Silence. "You know about that," Xiaojun said very quietly. "I know a lot of things I didn't used to let myself know. We can talk more when you're ready, but the answer is still no." Mrs. Chen lasted 6 weeks at Xiaojun's house. The first 2 weeks were, by all accounts, stormy. She complained about the cooking, the cleaning, the hardness of the bed, the angle of the afternoon light. She told relatives that Fang was a bad daughter-in-law. She called Chang's phone 3 times a day for the first week, and Chang answered each call, listened to his mother's grievances, and said gently but firmly, "Talk to Xiaojun about it, Mum. That's his job now." The calls decreased. In week 4, Fang called Jing for the last time. "I understand now," she said. No preamble, no strategy. "I just wanted to say I understand now." "I know," Jing said. "Does it get easier?" "It got easier when I stopped trying to make her like me." A silence. "That's harder than it sounds." "Yes, it is." In week 6, Xiaojun and Fang enrolled Mrs. Chen in a care home. It was a decent one, not luxurious, but clean and well-staffed, with a garden that caught the afternoon sun and a communal dining room that served home-style food. The monthly cost was 8,000 yuan. Xiaojun paid it without complaint, which was itself a small miracle. Jing heard about all of this second-hand from Chang, who visited his mother regularly every other Sunday with their son in tow. He came home from these visits with his face carrying the complicated weather of someone who loves a person they cannot fully trust, and Jing learned to read that particular forecast too. "How was she?"
she'd asked one evening. It wasn't a physical description. She seems smaller every time. "Are you okay?" "I think so." He sat down on the sofa, and she sat beside him, and they stayed like that for a while, in the comfortable silence of two people who have gone through something together and come out the other side. She asked about you. What did she say? She asked if you were well. Jing looked at the window. Outside, the city was doing its usual evening things. Lights coming on, traffic thinning, the sound of someone's music from a floor above. "Tell her I'm fine," she said.
The notebook had a last entry. Jing wrote it on a night in early December, 4 months after the wheelchair had arrived outside her door. She sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea and the notebook open to a blank page, and she thought for a while about what to write. She had been thinking lately about the nature of records, about why she'd kept the notebook, about what it had actually been for. It had not been a weapon, she decided. It had not been kept as ammunition for an eventual confrontation, though it had served that purpose. It had been kept because Jing was the kind of person who needed to believe that things which happened were real, that hours spent, money given, labor offered, kindness extended, all of it was real and had weight and existed somewhere, even if no one else acknowledged it. The notebook was proof, not proof to anyone else, proof to herself. And now that she'd read it aloud, now that she'd stood in a hospital room and made the invisible visible, she found that she needed it less. Not because it had served its purpose, revenge, satisfaction, vindication, she still resisted all of those framings, but because the act of showing it had changed something in her own relationship to what it recorded. The years it documented were no longer a wound she carried silently. They were a history she'd survived. She wrote in the last entry, 10 years, 283 pages, a number that felt enormous when I was living it and feels, now that I've written it down, strangely finite. It had an end. Things that have ends are not the same as things that don't. I think I confused them for a long time. I don't know if she regrets it. I don't know if she even has the capacity to understand what she lost. Not the care, which she'll get from somewhere else, but the actual person I might have been to her if she'd treated me like one. I'll never know that. That's probably the saddest part. Chiang made breakfast this morning. It was not good. The eggs were rubbery and the toast was slightly burnt, but he made it with the focused, effortful concentration of someone determined to get better at something. Our son ate it without complaint, which means it was at least acceptable. Afterward, Chiang looked at me across the table with that expression he has when he's trying to say something important without quite knowing the words, and then he said, "Same time tomorrow?" And I said, "Yes, same time tomorrow." That's enough, I think. For now, that is more than enough. She closed the notebook. She did not put it in a drawer. She put it on the bookshelf in the living room, between a novel she'd read twice and a cookbook she'd never opened, where it sat with the matter-of-fact presence of something that was simply part of the record of a life plainly lived. Part 5. The Last Morning. Mrs. Chen died on a Thursday evening in February. She died quietly, in her room at the care home, in the hour between dinner and lights out. The staff said she had been alert and talkative earlier in the day. She'd eaten well, had complained pleasantly about the television schedule, had requested a second cup of tea.
She went to sleep in her chair while reading a magazine about home decoration and did not wake up. The care home called Xiaojun first. He called Chang. Chang sat on the edge of his bed for a long while, holding his phone, not saying anything. Jing was in the kitchen when he came in. She looked at his face and knew. She said, "I'll come to the funeral," before he could speak. He looked at her. "You don't have to. She was your mother. I'll be there." He nodded. And then, unexpectedly, he put his forehead on her shoulder and just stayed there, and she put her hand on the back of his head, and they stood in the kitchen in the February dark, not saying anything. The funeral was a small affair, family and close neighbors, 24 people. Mrs. Chen had not been a woman with a large circle of intimate friends. She had maintained relationships through a combination of family obligation and social performance, and in her final months, both had contracted. Xiaojun cried, genuinely, messily, the crying of a person confronting the particular grief of realizing too late that they owed something they could no longer pay. Fang stood beside him, her face composed, her hand on his arm. Uncle Wei approached Jing near the end of the ceremony. He was 76 and moved slowly, but his eyes were still precise. He looked at her for a moment, and then he said, "You came." "Of course I came. You didn't have to. She was my mother-in-law for 10 years. Yes." He was quiet for a moment. "She made mistakes. She did. She also," he paused, and something in his expression shifted into a carefully honest grief. "She also loved her sons in the way she knew how, which was not a good way, but it was real." Jing thought about this. "I know," she said. "I never thought she didn't love them." Uncle Wei looked at her with something that might have been respect or might have been relief that she'd said that. "You're a good person," he said. "She didn't deserve the version of you she got." Jing shook his hand.
On the drive home, the car was quiet. Their son, 14 now, and going through the phase of adolescence in which all parental emotion is embarrassing, stared out the window with deliberate disengagement. Chang drove. The city went past, the lights of apartment buildings, the dark flat of the river, the elevated highway with its thin columns of red and white light. Near home, Chang said, "She called my name at the end, apparently. The staff told Xiaojun. She kept saying my name." Jing listened. "Not Xiaojun's, mine." "I know," Jing said. "What do you think that means?" She thought about it honestly. "I think it means she knew on some level that she'd gotten it wrong," she said. "I think she knew that the son she'd been trying to manage and manipulate for 40 years was actually the one who'd been there, and maybe she wanted, at the end, to be near that, near someone who'd actually stayed." Chang was quiet. "Or maybe it doesn't mean anything," Jing added. "Maybe she was just remembering. People call names at the end. It doesn't always mean something we can decode." "Which do you think is true?" Jing looked out the window. "I think the honest answer is I don't know, and the comforting answer is the first one, and you should probably believe whichever one helps you sleep." He made a sound that was almost, not quite, a laugh. "That's very practical of you. I've had 10 years of practice being practical." "Jing, I'm going to make it worth it." His voice was quiet and direct, the voice he used when he was saying something he'd thought about carefully. Not just the breakfasts,
all of it, you staying, everything you did. I'm going to spend the rest of whatever time we have making it worth it." Jing looked at the road ahead. The city lights stretched out in front of them. "You're already doing it. You've been doing it for a while now. It's not enough. It's enough for today." She reached over and put her hand on his on the gear shift. "We have tomorrow. That's how this works."
Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel, like, comments, and share. See you again!
Epilogue: The Notebook and the Morning After. The notebook is still on the bookshelf. Jing doesn't open it anymore. She knows what's in it, but she doesn't put it away either. It sits between the novel and the cookbook, and it is simply there, part of the life they've made, which includes the good parts and the bad parts, and the decade of invisible labor, and the reckoning in a hospital room, and the eggs Chiang burned on a Tuesday morning, and the sound of her son coming down the stairs complaining about his homework, and the February night they stood in the kitchen in the dark. And all of it is real. There is a particular kind of strength that looks from the outside like patience. It gets mistaken for passivity, or worse, for resignation. The strength of a woman who endures without complaint, who absorbs and adapts and continues. People see the endurance and think she has no power. They don't see that the endurance has been all along a form of preparation. Jing Chen, Ni Wu, daughter of a retired factory worker and a former school teacher, project coordinator of 8 years, mother of 1 son, wife to a man who is learning, slowly, seriously, with burnt eggs and genuine effort, to be better, kept a notebook for 7 years. She kept it because she refused to be erased. She made it visible because she refused to be taken for granted. And when it was over, when the wheelchair had arrived, and the meeting had happened, and the recording had been played, and the accounting had been made, she closed the notebook and put it on the shelf and went to sleep. In the morning, her husband made breakfast. It was still not very good, but it was made with love, which is not nothing, which is in fact the thing that makes the difference between a life that is bearable and one that isn't. She ate the imperfect eggs. She drank her coffee, and she thought, this is what I stayed for. Not the drama, not the reckoning, not even the justice, which was never complete. Justice of this kind never is. She stayed for the ordinary morning, for the sound of her son arguing with the television about the weather, for the particular angle of winter light through the kitchen window, and the way Chiang always burned the toast just a little because he got distracted by his phone, and the way she never said anything about it because it was such a small, forgivable thing. She stayed because she had always known that what she was building, quietly, carefully, with her notebook and her patience and her refusal to disappear, was not a case to be made in court. It was a life. It was just, finally, fully hers. The notebook is still on the shelf. The eggs are still slightly burnt. She is, all things considered, doing just fine.